Let Lita take you on a journey of faith, life, travel, and interior design. Take your life out of the status quo. Status Life with Lita is brought to you by Status Home Design and the shops at Status, and by the law office of Derek M. Hayes at 404-777-HURT.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Status Life with Lita on Business RadioX. We are broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio in the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. Lita has over 20 years working as an interior designer. She's now a full-fledged lifestyle expert, podcaster, and blogger. Status Life with Lita will take you on a journey of faith, life, travel, and interior design. Lita's mission is to bring her knowledge and fun teaching ability to help each of us design a life we love. My name is Derek Hayes. I'm the host of the show, and it's my pleasure to introduce the star of the show, Miss Lita Brooks. Good afternoon, Lita.
Hi, good afternoon.
I have to apologize. I think one of those came out as leader.
I've heard a few. Yes.
I was trying to enunciate that T, so it slipped. But
Try. Lita.
Lita.
Nope. Try again.
Lita.
Better.
Okay, thank you. Well, before we begin, a quick reminder that Status Life with Lita is
You're trying too hard. You got to say it faster. Lita.
Status Life with Lita.
Thank you.
Okay. Is brought to you by Status Home Design, your one-stop shop for all your home and gift needs, the Status Market, your online shopping experience, and the law office of Derek M. Hayes. Injured in Georgia, make the right call to the law office of Derek M. Hayes at 404-777-HURT.
Ready?
I passed it. I said it right that
No,
time.
you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
It's like it's our running joke, right?
Well, yes, because I say it frequently, and I get called out frequently for it. All right, before we start today, let's talk about some updates on things. Tell me what's going on. You're running again.
Yes,
I want to start with that.
I am. So I know we did a whole series on health, fitness, tied some weight loss into there. Even at the beginning of the year, remember I had gone into a weight loss challenge. And I am telling you, for me, the number one thing that is my mind, body, soul, it has always been running. And I'm very pleased to announce that I have gotten back into it full force. I'm running a few days a week, training for a race. It's just, that is my wheelhouse. It's the only thing that I will do consistently, and I will train hard. I like classes at the gym, but I kind of do some, and then I don't. And this is it. I'm a runner.
And it's now time for me to brag about you because just the other day you hit 12 miles.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. Yesterday, 12 miles.
I ran 12 miles yesterday.
That's amazing. And
and I'm still here today.
First time you've gone that far since your kidney donation.
Well, and I really think that's why I'm patting myself on the back, because I didn't know that this was going to be possible, right? I'm in my mid-40s, and I have had a kidney donation surgery, and I used to be a very avid runner before that, and I was really, really hard for me to get back into it. It's been very slow, very painful, a lot of really discouraging runs. And then I had COVID and, COVID lungs, and we've talked about that on a previous show too. So the fact that I'm running consistently, I'm running well, I'm now doing some distance. I'm running a 25K in a few weeks. So it is possible. It's all possible. And that's just, I'm proud of myself. I'm surprised and proud and just happy to be back in it.
Well, you should be very proud.
Thank
the incremental
you.
steps you've taken, you started at, 2 or 3 miles, then 5 miles, then 7
4 or
miles.
5 every week, right, for the
eventually
long
working up
distance
now.
runs, right. So I'm running consistently 5, 3 days a week, and then 1 long run.
And a 25K is roughly how many miles?
About 15.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've already done 12, so I'm race ready.
Well, as always, I'm impressed.
Well, thank you. But yes, so those of you listening, you've been on this journey with me. If this is your first show or you've been listening the whole time, you know that we have talked about this over and over. And so I'm happy to report I finally found my niche. And it is not found it for the first time, but found it again. And it is running.
Reconnecting to it.
There you go.
All right. Now, something else that you did before that you're now starting to do again.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, well, this show is just past Mother's Day.
Fur babies.
And she's now added 3 more fur babies to our household.
Yes.
And this is
over the weekend, I got to tell the story about it. So on Friday afternoon, I get a call at work that there were 3 ferrets that needed rehoming, and I didn't have a lot of details about the situation. I was able to talk to the owner. Not really certain how that conversation went, because in that conversation, he did tell me that he had run out of food, and that was like, what? You don't have food and you have pets? Like, okay, I got to go get these. So I told you on Saturday, I don't know what we're walking into. I have no idea. But go with me because I don't know what we're walking into.
And I did.
Let's just go look at them. Let's just go see if this is something that we need to do. And the minute we walked in, the minute I looked at you and I said, get them. We got to get out of here.
Yes,
get
I
out of here
know.
fast. And we got to get out of here. And I'm taking them with me.
And we did.
So now I have a very large ferret cage and 3, not 1, 2, but 3 ferret babies living in the basement.
We have 3 ferrets living in the basement.
Yes, but I will say you haven't paid them one lick of attention.
Well,
and that's okay. Derek's not
I'm aware
sold
of where
on
they
these.
are.
I know.
I know where they are.
I know, but I do. We've been doing playtime. And I will say my kids are older. Right now they're 9 and 12, and they love them. If they were any younger, this would not have been a possibility. I'm sure a lot of you listening are going, oh my God, ferrets. Like that is the common reaction that I get when people hear about this. But it is a complete misconception. They are actually very, very smart. You can litter train them. They are equally as smart as any dog. They are way smarter than my cats. People don't know that. They just think that they're like hamsters or guinea pigs. And somebody was like, oh, I couldn't wait to get my guinea pigs away. I don't like guinea pigs. I've never had them. I don't care about them. But ferrets, they're something else, and you have to see them and you have to know them. And
that's it. You've had them before.
I have had them. Right. This is not just something that came out of nowhere. Someone asked me to rescue them because I have training in them. I have had multiple pairs throughout my life.
And how long ago was it that you had them before the ones you had,
about
last
10
ones
years.
you had? About 10 years.
About
so
10
it's been about 10 years you've not
they
had
both got
ferrets.
put to sleep together. They were old, elderly, and they don't have a long lifespan. So anyway, so that's exciting for me. But what I was saying about my kids, they can help. Like even yesterday, I was really busy and I needed to work, and my daughter was able to do their playtime because they have to get out of their cage and play and run every day. So it's easier, and we're trying to do all that before you get home from work, just so you don't have to be bothered with them.
Well,
you won't even know they're there, Derek.
Well, you promised me they sleep like 18 or 20 hours a day.
They do. They sleep about 20 hours a day.
So that I really and truly haven't seen them because, as you said,
that's what I mean. You
gotten
don't
out
even
and
know
played
they're
with them
there
before I've even gotten home from the office.
Right.
So, but we are now in the country. We've moved out to land and property and a barn, and so our neighbors behind us have goats and chickens.
Everybody,
and we have neighbors that have horses. So now we have a slower pace, but yet we have furry animals.
Are you loving it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I am too. I really am. I was nervous. Even when we bought the house and we were moving in, remember I had that panic weekend where I was crying, like, I don't know if we made the right decision. And
I remember.
I'm a city girl and suburbs, but metro Atlanta. And I just, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
It's truly a different pace.
It is.
And we've already gotten to know our neighbors very well and hang out with them
we did
frequently.
hit the jackpot with
Sure.
our neighbors and our neighborhood. And there's kids everywhere, and it's fun, and everybody just hangs out outside. I don't think we spent any time indoors the entire weekend from morning till night.
Not really. And we are still in a neighborhood. We do have land. We've got roughly 13 acres, but it's in a neighborhood,
Right.
which is also very uncommon to have that size property, and virtually everybody does. So again, it's a completely different lifestyle, but very fun.
But
We're
loving
enjoying
it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Keep up with us on social media. We are renovating the house, and we talked about that. But lots of pictures, and follow the Instagram Status Life with Lita, and stay on this journey. And I'll even post some pictures of the fur babies.
All right, we do have a topic for today's show, but before we get there, I do want to cover a question that came from a listener
Yes.
through Facebook, and I'm going to just read it verbatim, and then we'll go from there. But you want
So
to say
this
something?
question that came into me through Facebook, this is from the last series that we just finished up about, divorce was touched on because you're usually not blending a family if you have not been divorced. Some situations are widowed, and we understand that. But so this question that came in, I just wanted to do a little preface on this. This is directed to our last series, and it was a 3-part series.
Yes.
Okay. You read the question.
So the question verbatim, it says, I've listened to your entire series on blending a family. I appreciate all your guidance and stories. I'm a single mom, not currently in a relationship, but would love to find someone special one day. My fear in dating again is blending with someone who has kids. If he doesn't have kids, he's probably not going to be a great role model because he's never experienced being a father. If he does have kids, and then she put in parentheses, if we get serious, we have to blend at some point. the whole idea terrifies me. I appreciate your honesty. And so I want to ask, and this is the question, can you tell me the number one hardest part of blending your families?
Mm-hmm. When this came in and I read it, I just thought, she must be type A. Right? Like, this is someone who is already going to the end and hasn't even taken step one yet. Exactly. But hey, I appreciate it. She's got kids. She is a mom.
She's a planner.
She is looking out for her family. So we are absolutely going to answer this question for her. But I'm going to put Derek in the hot seat because we have just blended. And Derek, I'm going to let you in because there's got to be. Don't give me your super sweet fluff. Everything is great. What, from a man's perspective, has been the hardest part for you?
Can I not mention the cats or the ferrets?
You can say whatever you want.
Well, no, jokingly, yes, she's a cat person. I'm not. I'm a dog person. And then now we have the ferrets. But I would say the blending issue, the difficulty comes in parenting styles. It comes in for me, my kids are older. I've kind of been there and done that with the stage in life with her kids, where her kids are. There's a 10-year difference between my oldest and her oldest and my youngest and her youngest. So I'm kind of reliving to some extent those times in her kids' life vicariously that I had with my kids.
You're having a hard time getting there.
I'm trying to be...
I know you are.
Not dance around the subject, but make sure I say it properly.
Okay.
I want to make sure I cover this. So it is different when you're parenting someone else's kids. And there is a desire to be a role model, to be involved in their life. Her daughter and I have a great relationship. Her son and I have a great relationship. Her daughter refers to me as her BFF. We enjoy our time together. I've had alone time with her. I've had alone time with her son. We go and do things. So I think that's probably, for many people, the most difficult part is adjusting to each other in the relationship. You're going to do that, but you also have to understand it's no longer just that one person. It's them plus their kids.
And their dog.
And okay. And
their cats and their ferrets. That's right. We are polar opposite just in that way.
And so that can create hurdles. It can create difficulties. But the reality is, as long as you are able to talk through it and continue to understand each other and work with each other, you can always overcome any of those obstacles.
So that was the really long-winded answer. And
I'm an attorney. I get paid by the word.
But I understand. But this is the difference in us, where I'm just more direct. If anyone listening to the show knows, I will just cut it straight to the cloth. And Derek's going to take a sip of his water because he knows I'm about to make him very uncomfortable. So yes, I get everything that you just said. But in being specific, when we first blended, you just came into my house bringing the clothes. We cleaned out a closet, and that was, for me, much, much, much easier. We didn't have the dog. It was just you. And I know that our relationship is really, really solid. And so you came into my space, welcoming that in. This is a little different. We are now combining spaces. And I know I've had a much harder time with that because, I was alone. And I had my own house, and I had my own cups in the cabinet, and I had my own cats, and I kind of had and again, this I think answers the question in a real direct way, because if she's a single mom, she has her own place to live, and she has the way she does things.
A routine.
It's just the blend when now you're combining everything. You're combining dishes, and you're combining pets, and you're combining parenting styles, and it can be a real challenge, even in the best of relationships. So just, yes, be mindful of that. Just going into it saying it's going to be hard, no matter how much you care about that person. You and I don't agree on parenting styles. Sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't. And that's been a real challenge for us. And so I think that's really where the last series stemmed from, is really... So. Just understanding it and going through it. I think every day that goes by, we're getting more settled and it's getting easier, but I think it's been a tough couple months.
Well, yes. And one thing, she didn't mention her name here, but I would say that Also, too, to answer the question, if there is the extreme difficulty, counseling is always an opportunity for kids to go and be heard, or for the couple to kind of not necessarily set ground rules, but understand how each other perceives their relationship and the actual blending as it moves forward. And that could also be very beneficial to create a much easier blend, a much smoother blend. I think our line of communication between you and me has been good, in the sense that we've talked through lots of issues that could normally be roadblocks for other couples.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then the hard line for me is when we've talked through them and then they get derailed. Right? But it's blending. It's not meant to be easy, right? You have your life, you had your house, you had your kids, you had your pets, and I had mine. And now we got to figure out how all that jives under one roof. And so just to say, of course it can be done. Families, people, they blend all the time. But go back and listen to the series. We go really in depth with the do's and don'ts. Thank you for the question, by the way. I really appreciate that. I think that was a phenomenal question with long-winded answers, but necessary. And if you go back and listen to the series or and you have questions, feel free. This one came through Messenger on Facebook. That is okay. I will still answer them one by one, even if I can't fit them into a future show.
And so we've closed out the series on blending, but that
Yes.
doesn't mean we're closing out the chance to,
Of course not.
to address
No,
those.
ask me anything you want. I'm an open book. I mean, that's what I'm here to do. Even moving forward to today's show. This one.
Well,
Yeah,
speaking of
it's
which,
tough.
I know it hits really close to home for you.
I know. That's why I wanted to do it. And, honestly.
Do you want to set it up? Or
Well, let me just say this. I'm not going to go off on a soapbox, but being a podcaster, and I have this platform, what I have found is it is easiest for me to build shows about what is directly going on in my life. We did a show on caring for the elderly, and that was so specific to the book, and it was very relevant. Or if, specific design styles, like everything under the sun lifestyle that we have touched, the easiest shows are when it is happening now. So it is fresh, it is raw, it is real. You get 100% of my thoughts and my emotion. And that's why today is relevant. Even sitting down and telling you, hey, this is what I think I want to talk about, because it's affecting me now.
Well,
I can dig in deeper.
Right. The topic, I know it's kind of hitting you personally and professionally.
Yeah.
So again, do you want me to set this up? Or
Go
do you
ahead.
want to set it up?
Set it up.
So, we're talking about judgment, tearing each other down with gossip, the frustration that comes with the talking behind your back, the comments that are negative that are made to others. That we always talk about gossip being a cancer, and it's true. Gossip can lead to some very difficult things unnecessarily because of things that are said and opinions that are formed based on untruths or half-truths, and people form opinions that they never should.
Absolutely. I don't have, one term for this. Derek, you're the one with all the words, so maybe you can help title this show. But we want to take the negativity, and we chose the two, gossip specifically, to dig into, and we chose judgment. And then at the end, we're going to define those, and we're going to talk about why people do these things. And then at the end, we're really going to wrap up with ways to turn it around, whether you see yourself as a gossiper or a judgmental person, or you're the target of it. So we're going to hit on a couple different levels today.
Well, as I said, I know you feel it personally and professionally, but let's kind of talk about the professional side of things first. Is that good?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So professionally, kind of give me some just examples, issues, things that would come to mind when we talk about gossip and judgment.
Well, okay. I know as a business owner, it doesn't matter what the business is. I really set myself up for people to have an opinion, right? So that it can be an opinion or it can be true gossip. But that's a real fine line that a lot of people are going to skirt. So a lot of people, when you own a business, they're going to want to discuss your success or your failure. And I
Sure.
think that's what makes failure so scary, because it becomes publicly. I failed publicly. Well, what is that? That just means everybody's talking about it.
And unfortunately,
You
some
know?
people want to celebrate the successes very little, but they want to exaggerate the failures to make them even worse than they may have been.
And a lot of times, most times, and I'm sure everyone's heard this, the negativity, it's always more prevalent. You will hear way more negative things about a situation, about a business, about a restaurant than you will positive. Reviews. How many times do you go to a business and even if you've had a great dinner there, you don't go and write a review about a good dinner, but you'll go and write a review about a bad one. But that's the place that people like to sit. And that's what I want to talk about today. I mean, part of this, it's human nature, the talking part, and it isn't always malicious, but sure, it can get there. And I know, again, whether you are that person, and chances are everyone has been that person who's been talked about, and just how painful it can be.
And there's a clear line, too, between constructive criticism and negativity.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I really pride myself, especially with my staff and my vendors, about accepting constructive criticism. I do not claim to know everything. I'm not a marketing expert. I'm not a business expert. I'm not an accounting expert, but I like to reach out and say, hey, how do you do this? And a lot of times I know who on my staff are my key people, who are my idea people, and I'll go to them, hey, what do you think we should do for this event? What do you think we should do for this marketing? And they just run with ideas. And that's not criticism, right? That we're think tank, we're doing this, we're doing that. But it changes real fast to criticism. And I know we're kind of getting off topic with gossip a little bit, but when it's unwarranted and they'll come and it's the tone and it's, well, I see you're not doing very much marketing, or I see my sales were really bad, or, that kind of thing. So, I own a vendor mall, and that's a very unique business that I own. 60 people pay rent to be a part of my store. 60. That's 60 people who think that they have a say. And on some level they do.
And technically they are small business owners themselves, because they have their business being their spot in your vendor mall.
Right. But the hard part is, if you want to say, hey, I heard about this, it's like I get more negative and especially gossip. And that's where this has really fueled from because, we just had a big transition with the store. And instead of taking this into a real positive experience, which it was, I mean, this is brand development. This was a huge step for me, a huge risk for me. And it was so stressful and it was so hard because of the negativity. I swear, I would look at you almost in tears and be like, why is everybody so negative? But that's the spot that a lot of people sit in.
Sure.
And it fuels and it festers. It's that cancer.
Right. And as you well know, I'm your number one fan, always will be, always have been. But yet you're right. You would hear the pushback, and everybody knows a lot more about it than they think you do. And so when they voice their opinions to you, it's voiced one way, but when they voice the opinions to someone else behind your back, it's a little more forceful and a little more, I guess, argumentative in a way. She didn't do this. She didn't do that. But yet it's a different tone than how they may have approached you with.
Sure. That's the gossip. All this was circling behind my back. And yet I have some very special people in my life who love me and care about me and were able to bring this to my attention. But it didn't make it any less painful. It just meant, the defense part is, why don't you just trust me? Why don't you just ride this wave with me? Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm making and then when I had to sit down and explain every single decision and why I'm doing it, I shouldn't have to do that.
Right. And these are people,
that was
too,
really hard,
that don't see all the work that goes into making a decision that's going to affect your business. I mean, the time, the effort, the research. I go back to a time you and I went to a winery up in North Georgia, and you remember the story.
No, I don't know what you're referencing.
Okay, well, it was the end of the day. They were closing. We got a bottle of wine. They weren't doing tastings because of COVID, but we were able to purchase a bottle of wine. We sat on a patio.
Yeah, I remember
closed.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you remember what we did? We spent an hour and a half, just the two of us, and everybody else left, and we worked. We went through business models and plans and payroll and with a notepad and pen sat there and hashed out a whole business plan, an hour and a half or so that we sat there. That's all the time, the effort, and the sweat equity that goes into, again, creating a business and running a business, that those people that criticize don't understand. A lot of time is spent trying to figure things out.
Sure.
It's not called trial and success. It's called trial and error.
Trial and error. Yeah. No, no, I remember
there are
all
going to be
that.
things that are stumbling blocks, things that are going to come in the path that you have to overcome to become a success, but it's always trial and error. Let's figure out if this is going to work.
Yeah. I just didn't understand going through this situation why everybody had to have an opinion. If this fails, let me fail. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Right? I'm a gambler. Let me roll the dice. And if it doesn't work, it's on me. It's not on you. It's not on anybody else. Nobody. And I'm okay with that pressure. I almost thrive in it. And yet I just felt so much negativity where it wasn't even in my life. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm excited. I mean, things that you and I did, and I know we talked about it on a show because you and I physically did the renovation. The whole thing.
The painting,
we caught a lot of slack for that
right.
behind our backs. I mean, people went crazy with taking digs at me. Why is she making him paint? He's an attorney. How could he be? What? And then I heard, what are you doing with me? Because I make you work. Why don't I let you rest? I mean, it was awful. Like the vultures were circling, and we had fun.
That was it.
We had a lot.
We enjoyed
worked
it.
to the bone, but we had music going. I mean,
late at night
we camped out. You know, we would work till 2 a.m. We had beers. Like I enjoy that.
Right.
I enjoy working with my
bonding
hands.
Element that comes
you know,
with that
yeah,
too.
I was proud of us, and yet that is not the perception, and that's the hard part. That's what we're talking about right now is sitting, you know, I can say all this professionally, but let's talk about it personally too. I mean,
yeah. Well, let's talk about the differences really between gossip and judgment. We kind of bounce around that a couple of times.
Okay, so let's dig in a little bit deeper to gossip and what it is. All right, so I have a real definition here. Okay. Gossip is unconstrained and often derogatory conversation about other people and can involve betraying a confidence and spreading sensitive information or hurtful judgments. There you go. That's exactly the story that I just told, because it was completely unnecessary and it was hurtful. It was that definition. It was, you know, circling behind
fit all
people's
those
backs,
categories,
right? So, I mean, there's plenty of things personally. I mean, I'm a female, you know, I've been gossiped about. I'm sure that I still am on some level. Again, I can speak to it more professionally because I'm out, you know, my face, my brand, I'm out in the community more. And now, you know, with a podcast, my reach is even bigger. But think about it, you know, with celebrities. I mean, everybody feels like they have 2 cents into their lives and they don't even know these people, you know?
Exactly.
So, all right, Derek, go through why do people gossip?
Well, there's kind of a bullet point list here. Number one is to feel superior. In other words, people that don't feel good about themselves kind of feel better temporarily by bringing others down.
Sure.
By negatively judging them or saying things that may or may not be true, but it's a way of making yourself feel superior. Next is out of boredom. So when people can generate interesting discussions based on something they know or may have heard, it can rouse people's interest. And so it's out of boredom. It's just a way to kind of stir the pot.
Yeah.
It's a phrase we use a lot. Out of envy. That's the next bullet point. So people gossip to hurt those that are more popular, talented, or the lifestyle they lead. They're envious of that. Next is to feel like part of the group.
Yeah.
I want a sense
to
of
be included.
belonging and
Sure.
including. Right. And I can understand that too. That's one that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. Next is for attention. A person gets to be the center of attention temporarily when they divulge gossip. Hey, let me tell you what I heard. And everybody kind of circles around to hear what that person has to say, spreading the gossip or the rumors, whether, again, it's true or not. And then finally, the last bullet point is out of anger or unhappiness.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that is a big one. You and I have used the phrase, hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm. I had to use that recently. Yeah. I mean, I've
Someone
have found
who has
myself in a hurt situation, and and that's going to be on the wrap up because that's one of the reasons, right. that they gossip.
And we've heard the phrase misery loves company.
Sure. Being able to understand that as a fundamental concept and taking it off of you and realizing that this person, and it, again, there's that whole bullet point list. It's not always the hurt. Sometimes they're bored. Sometimes they want to feel included. And I know that as you were reading that, all I'm doing is thinking about the people in my life. Different people would pop into my head like, oh, yeah, to feel superior. Oh, I know.
For different bullet points, different reasons.
That would be, I'm just making up a name, but that would be Sandy, or, yep, I got that. I mean, I'm hoping everybody that's listening is going, yep, that's my aunt or whatever it is, whoever in your life. So again, there is a ton of reasons, but we will wrap it up. So just specific to gossip, the last couple things I want to say, I cannot stress enough, as a business owner, keep it out of the workplace. Please, please, please. There is no place for that. If you hear someone gossiping, shut it down. It makes you the better person. Leaning in and wanting to hear it, as intriguing as that may be, no. Be the stronger person. Find your own self-worth and realize that there's no relevance to it, and walk away.
When the person trying to spread the gossip gets a rejection response.
Oh, yeah. They're going to understand real quick that that's not.
Yeah, this isn't the person I need to go to.
No, not at all. This. Not at all. And I'm telling you, you will be much, much, much more respected and liked if you are not that person. I think of my closest friends who are not gossips at all. And these women, they are vaults. I would trust them with my life. And that's why, because they don't listen to it. They don't hear it. And it makes them,
They don't form opinions based on what they hear.
Not at all.
And if they did hear something, more likely than not, they're going to know better anyway and reject it.
Yep. It just breeds toxic energy. Morale goes down. And I had, we do a lot of formal sales training, and in one of our meetings, this national, what is his title?
Expert.
Perfect. He's an expert, and he told me, specific to my business, if I have someone who gossips, if they are on my staff, that is immediate grounds to let them go. Over anything else. Gossip, it is cancer, and it brings down the whole team. And I am telling you that rings so true based on what we just walked through.
Absolutely.
Should have been exciting. And yet I have just been like pulling apart the cancer since one of the most exciting things I've done in my career, all because of gossip.
Yeah. And then
judgment, let's go into that.
I was going to say,
that's huge too.
I don't want to skip that. We were going to talk about the differences between the two, but let's go to judgment.
Judgment. So it's difficult, right? All this is, we're not talking about anything that's fun. We're going to go back to interior design next week, right? But again, it's relevant. Yay. All right. So this can go both ways, because it doesn't necessarily, judgment doesn't necessarily have to be a bad word. Sometimes there's a difference in making judgments and being judgmental. Okay? Making judgments comes from a balanced and neutral mind. But judgmentalism, that's a new word, right?
Yeah,
that comes from an imbalanced and reactive mind that is seeking to protect itself from being hurt by others. So that's the one of the definitions of the difference, right, between judgment and being judgmental. So being judgmental, it's not all bad. You're able to make clear decisions, possibly avoid a bad situation, but that is also a fine line.
It is. It definitely is. And I could see how it would, potentially avoid some bad situations by an educated judgment. I always want to make sure we base a judgment on something other than an opinion or gossip. If you have facts, and again, this is the attorney side of me.
Yeah, you're speaking like one right now. But that's
I want
the
a factual basis to form a judgment.
Sure. And so when I looked this up, judgment, it truly went into a legal definition. The judgments of the case. Everything I read. So I had to do a little bit more searching. And of course, I always do a lot of research for my shows. But what I read was judgment of another person, because Derek, as an attorney, you just went right to that legal. That's great, because that should be the black and white. So where judgment, I feel like, really crosses that line is when you're basing your judgment on gossip.
Right? Exactly. That's not fact.
That's not fact. So here's the judgment of another person. When we are judgmental, we are critically nitpicking and finding fault with another person group of people, idea, or situation. Critically nitpicking. That's a definition. But that's what you're doing, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a perfect 2-word definition right there. Critically nitpicking.
Yeah. A lot of times, there was a lot in there about using judgment as a defense mechanism for yourself. It's like I can judge you and I can pick apart life so I don't have to look at my own. I can feel better about myself if I can tear you down.
Justify some of the things I may be doing or some of the things that have gone on in my life by tearing you down.
By tearing you down.
Right.
Sure.
Well, I know you had an example of a friend that you were trying to help. You want to talk about that?
And so this is a really good example because it sits on, it's going to talk about both sides. So when I tell this story, you guys, I want you to kind of maybe decipher how you see it and try to hear it from both sides. So I had a friend who was in a really tough marriage, married to an addict, and the addiction went from alcohol addiction, possibly some rehab in there, but never really got clean and sober, just went more towards the pills and the marijuana route. And I'm watching this and I'm truly feeling for my friend. Really was. My intentions were never malicious, and there were children involved, and I really felt like the children were suffering and the finances were suffering, and the husband was struggling to keep a job because of the addiction issues. So I feel like that was very justified, that I'm worried about my friend and I'm worried about all of these things that I'm seeing happen in her life.
I'm going to interject there. Everything you listed, those are factual observations you can make.
Okay, but let me finish the story, because her side was very relevant and was very eye-opening to me. Okay? So as we're going through this, and I'm in my mind just trying to be helpful, and maybe you should go, maybe you should leave, maybe there's an addiction issue here, there's a financial issue here,
safety of kids,
all of that, trying to do things to help, taking the kids, truly anything, being a confidant, just trying to be a good friend, but also giving opinions and trying to give advice. But what was happening is my friend was not willing to hear it. My friend was still enabling. She was seeming to be in denial about the situation. And what was coming back at me was, she said I was being judgmental. You're being extreme, basically leave me alone. That's what it came down to, a big argument. And in that argument, it was, you're just judging. All I feel from you is just judgment.
Mm-hmm. That's anger. She was kind of lashing
I understand, but it was, because I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm trying to help you. Mm-hmm. My situation was different, but I've been through a divorce. I have kids. I am a mom. I was trying to do things that I thought would help further her life, and yet all she felt was mm-hmm. judgment. So where you're saying, okay, this is factual, no matter what the facts were, she wasn't receiving that.
There's still a disconnect.
She got angry with me and didn't want to acknowledge it. So my point is, this can go both ways, and I see it. I'll use myself as an example. Right? Where the judge has good intentions, and yet it was received very negatively. So this is hard. It's that tightrope.
Yeah, that's
right?
difficult. That's a very difficult situation. As I said, the observations you talked about are all fact-based. If they're an addict, if there's safety involving the kids, if it's a financial issue, all those things are factual-based observations that lead to a conclusion. But she just didn't like the conclusion, and ultimately, I don't know how that wound up, but I'm sure a lot of your advice kind of fell on deaf ears.
Yeah, it did. It really did. And at that point, I just had to walk away and
it's probably best.
You know what? She's just hearing judgment, and
mm-hmm.
if there's no acknowledgement to the issues, if they're still enabling, if she thinks that she's happily married, that's her marriage. I did what I can do.
Right.
I said my piece, and that's all I can do. And it was time to walk away.
All right, so let's talk about ways to turn things around.
let's make this happier,
That's
right?
right.
This, I mean, I
Come
know
to the
it's a heavy
conclusions.
topic, but I guarantee you, everyone listening is yep. You know, you think about these people in your life. So, all right, let's get through this. Here's how you turn it around. So, we talked about it, Derek. You used the quote that I've had to use recently with someone: hurt people hurt people. What you have to know out of that is the person doing the gossip, casting the judgment, it is their pain. There is something within themselves that is painful. Have you ever heard there's only fundamentally two emotions, or two, love and fear? That is it.
Okay.
That is the root of everything. If you're sitting in fear, if you're sitting in ego, if you're sitting in anger, like that's truly all on one side. That is all fear-based emotion. Okay. And that you have to understand that that's where they sit. That person is feeling something within themselves and they're projecting it outwardly.
The negativity.
And that's really hard because when it's being projected on you, it doesn't make it any less painful,
Right,
especially in the moment, right? But if you have that understanding, you're able to just take a breath, take the punches, and step back and say, this is not about me. This is not about me. I can see that person's pain. I can see why they're saying all these things about me behind my back. They're just deflecting. There's something within them, whether it is the judgment or whether it is the gossip, that is so painful that they can't sit with it in themselves.
Deflecting and projecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that projection of their anger within themselves to you is what creates a lot of the problems.
Hurting people often do not love themselves enough, so they look for love and approval from others. Hurting people, okay?
Sure.
That goes back to the gossip list or the judgment list. They're looking for that approval. They're going to have that lean in, but that's the basis of it. They don't love themselves enough. And so you have to sit with that. I do have a definition, and I have to give the author credit because I did not write this. Her name is Alana Palm. What a beautiful name. She wrote this. She's there. So let's piggyback off the hurt people. Their reactions stem from past experiences that lead them to certain beliefs that they accepted as truth. They are actually preconceived ideas projected onto others to protect their own ego. So something is wounded inside of them that they're projecting. They've got preconceived ideas. I thought that was very eloquently stated.
Yeah, that sums it up very, very well.
Yeah. All right. So instead of taking it personally, recognize it for what it is. Love the person anyways. That's all you can do. That's all you can do is just say, you know what? This is not about me. I've had to do that professionally, again, where some things have kind of gone astray. It's not about me. I look at that person, deep depression, difficult. All right. So do you want to get to the list?
Yeah, I was going to say
we have time?
We're running close on time, but I think we can go through these very quickly. It's I saw the list here, 13 signs you're a judgmental person.
So yeah, what if you're sitting here listening to this and thinking, well, shoot, that was a really good example. I gave an example of myself and how it was perceived as judgment. And I'm sitting here saying, but I wasn't trying to judge you. I was just trying to help you. Okay. So I'm going to go through a list that I found it's the Loner Wolf blog. This is, part of my research. Derek, you take number 1. Let's just go through these real quick.
Right,
so hold on a second. I want you to listen to this list that Derek and I are about to read and decide if you are a judgmental person.
Right. And that's what I was going to reiterate. 13 signs that you are a judgmental person.
All right.
Number 1, you believe that everyone is out to get you.
Number 2, you expect other people to be consistent all the time.
Number 3, you struggle to see beyond a person's flaws.
Number 4, you easily skip to the conclusions.
Number 5, you struggle to tolerate ambiguity and uncertainty.
Number 6, you're intolerant of people unlike you.
Number 7, you're generally pessimistic about life.
Number 8, you tend to believe people are either good or bad.
9, you struggle to truly appreciate or see the beauty in others.
Number 10, you have low self-worth.
11, you feel anxious around other people.
Number 12, you're suspicious and untrusting.
And then finally, 13, you have a strong inner critic who judges you.
Yeah. Be honest. How many of these signs can you relate to? Not you, Derek. You don't have to answer. That's rhetorical for you. That was to all of my listeners, okay? Did you receive any strong or uncomfortable feeling while reading this list? There were a couple of them that I went,
yeah, there was a pause here and there.
Yeah. Number 7, you're generally pessimistic about life. That's not you.
No,
you are not pessimistic at all. Were you thinking of someone?
Right. It makes me think as I'm reading these.
Right.
No, I'm truly not pessimistic.
No, not at all. I didn't take that. But it does. It makes you think about the people. And, sometimes I gave the advice, you just have to love them anyway. And sometimes even in my recent situations, personally and professionally, I've had to push some people at arm's length and say, you know what, maybe this is a season. Maybe they're going through something. I can either pull them close and love them through it, or if it's going to bring me down and it's going to pull me into this negative spot, then I got to push them away. Doesn't mean forever, but it just means that it's not about me.
And there's some healing to be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm better without. I truly live my life wide open. Anybody listening to the show knows I go full speed every day. I do not get bogged down. So for me to do a full show because I've been bogged down, it's almost therapeutic. Like I had to just get it out and give people the ways to heal, because that's very healing for me.
Agreed. Well, before we close, do you want to give everybody all the information about how to find you and your website?
Yeah, come find me. StatusLifeWithLita.com. That's the blog, podcast. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. I don't know anything about it. Status Life with Lita, Leta, on Instagram, and the same on Facebook. Send me the DMs. Send the questions. I love them. Again, I'll try to incorporate anything I can into the show, and if I can't, I will respond to you one-on-one.
And come by the store.
I have I have a retail store, 2 of them in Metro Atlanta, right off I-20, off I-85 North. But we do sell online. Status,
that's right. That's exactly right.
Status, that's the name of all my brands. Status Market and Design is my online store with home decor and gifts.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us on Status Life with Lita, presented by Status Home Design and the law office of Derek M. Hayes. Don't forget you can enjoy any of our episodes anytime by visiting BusinessRadioX.com, selecting the Gwinnett Studio, and then clicking on Status Life with Lita. This program is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast. Until next time, for Lita Brooks, I'm Derek Hayes, and you've been listening to Status Life with Lita on Business Radio X.